Welcome to Angry Appliance Repair Person. For the record, you're looking at them. I do say in a lot of these presentations and in our introduction that if you want to be a do-it-yourselfer, do it somewhere else. And I stand by that. But every once in a while, I have a lot of questions from customers while I'm in their house working on their appliance. And some things with service are very simple to understand. And sometimes calling someone for it, it might be something that you can do yourself with very little effort. And that's what I'm going to talk about now. Don't think that I'm trying to teach you how to fix something. I am not. I am just pointing out a fact that happens, a common problem that I see, as in this case with the washer machines, front load specifically, and to make sure that people understand before you spend that money to call a serviceman. If you are capable, stressing that, you may want to check this. When your washing machine is done and the cycle is over and you want to do another load, you may open the soap cup and look down and say, why is there water in there? Why does my soap cup in the little cup area still have water left, but the machine is done? These cups work on water pressure. The more pressure that comes in, the better it fills out. So as the water pressure comes in and fills the cup, it overflows the cup and drains the water out. So if you have slow water pressure coming in, it cannot drain that cup. So it's not a failure with the machine. The machine is fine. The problem is the water pressure coming into the machine is the problem. And when you look into the cup and you see that water there, you are thinking that something didn't work or it's not correct and you call for service. When in reality, all that's wrong is that you don't have enough water pressure. Now, even though your washing machine may have hot, warm, and cold settings, and you select warm for a warm wash, a lot of companies want to stay within the government guidelines of energy savings and water savings. So the first fill with that washer is cold water. Even though you selected warm, you get cold, the cold water goes in, flushes that cup to flush out that detergent into your wash. So you are not getting both hot and cold for most machines. You are getting just cold. With that being said, if you have a pressure problem with the washer, not necessarily with your house, so if there's screen, which I will probably go into details about those in other presentations, but there is a screen in the cold water valve that sometimes clogs up. That screen can be cleaned, or you can have a screen at the spigot. I will talk about that later. But for now, the main thing I want you to understand is that cup having water left in it just means you didn't have enough cold water pressure to flush it out. It doesn't hurt anything. Your machine is not broken. Some of the cups are easily removable that you can dump that water if it bothers you, or you can dry it out. Your machine is not broken. If the water is there, all that means is you didn't have enough pressure. If you see it on a consistent basis, it probably should be checked, not necessarily by a service person, but someone who might want to just check the hose behind the machine to make sure you have enough pressure through. But if you don't have enough pressure, it stays in there. All front loaders basically work that way. So don't spend the money for a service person right away, thinking that that is a problem. If you see water left, make sure that you understand to just check the pressure more than the machine. Now, fabric softener. Fabric softener works well, as I have said in previous presentations, with soft water. With hard water, not so much. So if you have a hard water situation, I do not recommend you use fabric softener in your washer. It gunks things up. So as well, if you have cold water coming in, and the fabric softener does not dissolve very well, it can actually gunk up the cup that it can no longer go out correctly. Taking the cup out and cleaning it is something all manufacturers want you to do as long as the cup is removable. You have to check. Where I'm going with this, in the cup itself, I recommend that you dilute the fabric softener. Some of these fabric softeners in these small bottles are very concentrated. They can get gunked up because the water cannot dissolve it enough to be able to get it to flow cleanly. I recommend that when you pour fabric softener into the cup, it is half and half. Half water, have fabric softener to dilute it a little to have a much easier time getting it to go down into the machine. But I always recommend, if you use fabric softener, make sure it's actually doing some good. Do not use fabric softener if you have very hot water, because it doesn't dissolve. All it does is cake up the machine and makes you buy a machine much sooner than you want to. So keep that in mind when you see water or gunk, as I like to say. That is a technical term for the record. The gunk build up in the cup. The senile thought each week is going to be about first year service. Now, everyone assumes that when you buy a brand new pick on something, a brand new dryer, you buy a brand new dryer, you bring it home, you plug it in, you turn it on, and you're thinking, hey, this dryer is taking so long to get my clothes dry. I don't understand this at all. So you call for service. The serviceman comes out and says, well, ma'am, because of the energy regulations, because of this, because of this, because of this, this is the way you're supposed to use this dryer. It is different than what you had 20 years ago. So there's nothing wrong with your dryer. It is just the way that these dryers work and an understanding of how to use it. When I was a wee little tot getting started in the business, a lot of the manufacturers would pay for that. We called that customer education. We still do. The problem is, with costs being what they are, a lot of companies don't pay for it anymore. They will not pay a serviceman to come out to your home and teach you, literally teach you, how to use that appliance. The companies look at it as being that don't call for service right away. They want you to go to their website and check it there first before you call, because they don't want to pay a serviceman to go out on a brand new appliance, and there's nothing wrong with the appliance. Someone has to pay for that serviceman's time, and someone has to take responsibility for their own actions, as I have talked about in previous presentations. So the hard thing for a serviceman to always have to do is tell that homeowner, I'm sorry, there's nothing wrong with your appliance. Your appliance is fine. It is the way that the appliances work today that this is what you must do to use it correctly. So I apologize, but they will not pay me for that. You're going to have to pay the trip fee for me to come out and explain that to you. It's a very hairy thing. Regretfully, that is kind of the way things work. There is no answer for it. There is no solution. The manufacturers will never go back to paying that serviceman to come to your house under a year and pay for them to be there. There are a very few exceptions. There are some manufacturers that do pay for that. If that is something that concerns you, ask your salesperson. Check the internet. Say, well, what if I have a question in the first month of ownership? Will a serviceman come out to my house and do I have to pay him? There are certain brands that may pay for that. There are certain brands that will not pay for that. If that is one of your concerns, ask or check online on their warranty before you buy the product, if that's what you want to do. But the days of having a serviceman come out to your house and educate you on something is kind of the thing of the past, unless you want to pay for it. That's why, convenient, we are doing these presentations, because then maybe you can learn something and you don't have to call for service all the time. And that's why people like myself who do these presentations, and manufacturers on their own websites, are trying to get you to check it out on that internet, being able to learn that before you call for service. But don't expect when a serviceman comes to your house and there's nothing wrong with your appliance, you're going to have to pay him. Regretfully, that's the way things are going. And as always, we thank you for spending some of your day with us.